it comes from these particular journeys that I'm sent by, often by magazine editors, who tell me to go to a particular country or a particular city and write about it. So the last decade and a half since I published my first book, which was actually a travel book, which was a commissioned travel book, almost everything I've done has come out of, sometimes repeated travels to the same country. And the Buddha book also came out of going to these various countries in Asia, going to various Buddhist pilgrimage sites in India and elsewhere in Java, and then beginning to think about that whole phenomena, Buddhism in India, how it traveled elsewhere, what did the Buddha talk about, what was his core worldview, and that's how it really emerged. Previously, my life hadn't been touched in any way by Buddhism or the ideas of the Buddha. It was only really through travel that I became exposed to his influence and his presence in a much wider cultural area than India's. With this book too, and indeed the other book, Temptation to the West, which consists of various travels, journeys through parts of South Asia, also China, that also came out of journeys and travels in these particular places. This book, of course, again, it's hard to imagine how I could have written it without actually going to some of these places that feature in the book, which aroused my curiosity, going to a place in Shanghai where Tagore had visited, and beginning to think about what was this visit all about. How many Indians were there in Shanghai at some point? At some point, there were many of them. Some of them working working for the police in the international settlement, and many of them working as guards in the bigger hotels, and thinking also about Indian soldiers in China and in places like Hong Kong and Singapore. So it was really a set of these kind of related journeys that this book began to emerge, and even the novel, it's hard to imagine that coming into being without being able to travel and without being able to compare different experiences.